You can talk about, you can share a client journey and a testimonial so they see what it's like to work with you. You can give them a picture of the transformation that you offer. You can just tell them a funny story and then tie it into something in your practice, right? It's a chance for them to get to know you and get an idea of what you do. And then at that point, you've got them on your list. Then you just got to keep that consistency that we were talking about before so that they're warmed up and ready for whatever you have to offer.
You know, it's interesting you talk about that consistency because it is so important. One of the concerns that I often hear is, OMG, if I email people, they're going to unsubscribe, right? Yeah. What do you say to that one?
You know, some of them will, and that's actually okay. We get really scared of unsubscribes and we take them personally, but unsubscribes are actually not bad. Because that just means that that person is not your person. If they're going to unsubscribe from your email list, they're not going to work with you, right? Now, I do think it's really important to make sure that your emails are not annoying, because we've all gotten annoying emails. If you're only sending emails that are selling things, like obviously selling things, then people may get annoyed and unsubscribe. Or if you're sending emails that if they read it and they feel like it was a waste of their time, then they're going to unsubscribe. Or if you're emailing too often, I mean, there are people who do daily emails.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily recommend that. I think that's a little bit much. I think that can get overwhelming unless you have a specific, like if you're doing a launch, there's certainly a place for daily emails, but not probably ongoing. But you want to email often enough where they remember you, but not so often that they get annoyed. So offering value and being consistent, you may become the person that they get excited to see in their inbox. That's the goal. So there's a mindset issue there as well, right? If we go into our emailing thinking they're just going to unsubscribe, our emails are probably not going to be super inspired. But if you go in thinking this may be the most valuable thing they read all day, then with that mindset, the people who need to find you are not going to subscribe.
Right. That's so good. So good. Yeah. And you know, it's interesting. I hadn't thought about the mindset piece, but that really is true.
Yeah.
It's going to impact how we show up in those emails, and which is so critical. So basically, the people that are going to unsubscribe, it's okay, because we frankly, we can't be everything to everyone.
Right.
And I think the other big takeaway is, we're providing value. The key is to be very cognizant of providing ongoing value and not just sending sales emails. Like that's kind of the kiss of death, right? In terms of strategy. Which brings us to, were you going to say something else?
I was just going to say, do be careful about ghosting your list.
Oh, right. Oh, tell us about that.
That happens a lot because, especially if you're just starting your practice and you're all, you're enthusiastic, you get things going, you start emailing and it works, right? Which is good. And then your practice fills up. Yeah. Often the first thing that happens is you let go of your writing, because you want to work with your clients, and writing takes a lot of time. That's why I'm here. That's why the people like me exist, to take that off your plate. But so if you ghost your list, if you go a few months and they haven't heard from you, then and then you launch something and you go straight into to sales emails, it's not really going to go very well. So it is, again, we get back to that consistency component. Now, if you have ghosted your list and you're watching this, don't panic. There are totally ways to ease back in. And the number one thing not to do is apologize. Everybody does that, right? Oh, I'm so sorry. I haven't been here in so long. Just skip that. And just start offering value again. And if you have ghosted your list and then you start emailing them again, expect unsubscribes, because they're going to be people who don't remember who you are.
Right. That's the interesting thing, right? Yeah. If you've got a big gap in between emails, sometimes, people have kind of short memories. And they're like, wait, who is this person?
Yeah, if they
Unsubscribe,
downloaded your freebie and they just, they're all excited about your, how to lower your blood sugar freebie, but then they don't remember that that's where you came from. So if you did ghost your list and you start emailing them again, you might want to mention the thing that they downloaded and maybe even send it, send the link again. Hey, I don't know if here's another copy of this or whatever. So that they go, oh yeah, that's who that was.
Great idea. So let's talk a little bit about launches. All right. One of my favorite topics in the whole world. So when someone is ready to launch a course, maybe even a program or a package, how can they make sure the right people find out about it and hopefully sign up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of it's what we've been talking about, right?
Okay.
Making sure you're being consistent. And, we started off the conversation talking about helping your potential client feel seen. And that is so important with a launch because whatever, let's say you're offering a program, you're that same pregnancy nutritionist and you're offering a program, nourish your body, nourish your baby. So you're offering this program and, so you want to make sure that it's reaching the right people. So you're going to start talking about it on social media, right? You're going to make sure that people know that you don't necessarily need to start talking about the actual program a super long time before your launch, but start talking about the things that your program is going to teach. If you're doing pregnancy nutrition, then start talking about the things that women can eat when they're pregnant to, boost the baby's brain growth or, whatever. And whatever things that you're going to talk about in your program and just start warming them up. Do the same thing with your emails. So, because of course you're sending consistent emails and in those emails, you're going to start to talk about the things that are going to be in your program to kind of pique that interest. Then when you're ready to launch, you've got people a little bit warmed up already. Then when you're ready to launch, you start really talking about it. Before you're ready, let's say this program is partially online. They have modules they can do, but maybe you have live calls as well. Maybe you even have a one-on-one component. Maybe they get a call with you or something. And so that would be an open close launch, right? Where you're going to just open it up for a limited amount of time. The program is going to run from this date to this date. Evergreen launches are a different thing and we'll save that for now. But let's say we're doing an open close launch. So you'll want to build up to that open cart and get them excited about it in your emails. A lot of people like to do a webinar. That's a common component of a launch funnel. You don't have to do that, but some people like to do a webinar where they bring people in. They do a Zoom, not necessarily Zoom. There's all different platforms you can use, but where you talk about something, some aspect of your program, teach them something, make it valuable, and then offer some bonuses at the end for the people who came to the webinar. In your email sequence, when you're launching, that's when email becomes so important because like we were talking about a little bit ago, if you're only talking about it on social media, it's going to be hit or miss with who hears it. And also people are going to, not be able to find it when they need it. That happened to me one time. I was interested in a course, I wasn't getting emails about it, and then I couldn't find the sales page for it. So make sure, that's another tip, make sure that your sales page is really easy to find. But, you're going to have your emails where you have your, early bird bonuses and things like that, where you're building the excitement. You've got sales emails that are probably closer together than what you normally email. And then you're going to have your sales page. And again, your sales page needs to help your ideal client feel seen because a sales page is all about connecting you and the person who needs you. So you're going to go over the aspects of the course, the transformation that it's going to provide, what's in the modules, roughly a summary, so that they're getting excited about what you have to offer. And if you're talking about the right things and talking about them everywhere, because I know it feels like you say something once and now you've said it, but especially if you're doing it on social media or podcasts, you've got to say it over and over and over again because you don't know who's hearing it and people need to hear something more than once. So if you're talking about it everywhere and then you've got a really good targeted sales email funnel or sales email sequence and a good sales page, then you should be golden.
So good. I want to make sure that you guys know that you can send some questions or comments in that comment area, so we can help you out if you have specific questions. I actually want to run something by you, kind of an off the cuff question that
Cool.
I get all the time. So I want to hear just kind of what your feedback is. So one of probably the biggest challenges that I hear when it comes to doing email, even newsletters, I would say this even is a concern around newsletters, but especially like a webinar, right? In terms of writing the copy for the webinar.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, how do I do this without giving away all the information? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and it just seems like with nutrition, I don't know why, that just seems to be like an extra big concern. Like, how do I do a webinar without giving it all away?
Right. No, and I understand that. And people are, I think it comes into that, a little bit of that imposter syndrome and the scarcity mindset of feeling like, there's only so much information here. And if I give it all to them, they're not going to pay me. But the people who are going to sign up with you are the people who are looking at what you've offered for free and thinking, wow, they know so much. And if they're like giving me this much for free, imagine how much more there's going to be in their program. So a couple of ways you can do it. You can just take one subtopic of what you're talking about and focus on that in your webinar and just do one little piece. Obviously, you're not going to want to summarize your whole program in the webinar because you don't want them to feel like, oh yeah, check, got it. I don't need to pay you now. Give them a taste of what it's going to be like. Like you could one module, one video of one module kind of a thing and make a webinar, not out of the exact video, but use that content so that they see what it's going to be like. Another thing that I recommend is tell them the what, but don't teach them the how.
Yeah.
And because especially if you're talking about nutrition, especially food is so personal and making changes to what you eat is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. And if you are telling them, let's say you're working on blood sugar management and you're talking about your macronutrient balance, your carbohydrates and fats and proteins and how you should have these balanced, that goes so deep. And people want to know, well, what actually do I eat? And that they want to see percentages and meal plans. And so there's so much, you'll be able to go so much deeper and just tell them that. So this is just a little bit about what we're going to be doing, but in the program, we're going to dig really deep. We're going to get into specifics. You're going to have things that you can personalize and just show that the depth is going to be there to a level that they're not getting in your free content.
Yeah. So good. Love that. All right. We got a couple questions here. Thanks, guys. So what are the essential components to a great newsletter? Oh, good question.
That is a good question.
Yay.
And the great thing about this is there aren't any. How about that? No, for a newsletter, you want it to be personalized for you. I write a lot of newsletters for different clients, and I have some that have a super structured newsletter where they have very specific things that they do every single week. And that can be kind of nice if your audience likes that. I have one client who has a section where she likes to read through the latest food news and the things that are happening in the food industry. And so she'll have some summaries of articles from food news, and then she'll have her editorial, and then she'll have a video that she's made. And her newsletters always have those same components, and people look forward to those. But newsletters can also be very basic. It can just be an email. It doesn't have to be a super designed, stylistic thing. Some of them, the ones that I write, are just like, I have clients that I write their blogs and their newsletters. And so their newsletter will just go a little deeper or talk about a different aspect of whatever the topic is for the blog, and then link to the blog. So there really are no rules when it comes to newsletters, except offer value and let them see your personality would be my two top tips.
Yeah, I love that. I always say, guys, people want to know the person behind the brand, just a little glimpse of the person, the human being. And it really, really helps to develop that, a connection with your audience.
Right.
And so, yeah, great. Love that. Hey, Dorothy. what is a good ratio we could follow of sales, emails, newsletters, warming up, etc.?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, you could ask, if you ask 10 different marketing strategists or copywriters, you probably get 10 different answers. My answer to that, I don't necessarily go with a specific numeric ratio, but you want to make sure that you are offering, maybe 10 times. I said I wasn't going to go with a number, and then I'm going with a number, but maybe 10 times more value content than sales. So what I like to do is keep the newsletters mostly content focused. And then you always want to have a call to action, though. So your call to action can be to lead them to your sales page or your website, something on your website. You want to always have a call to action that leads them to something that gives them the next step for them to do. And it's okay if your newsletter is focused mostly on value content. And then it's like at the bottom, it's like, hey, by the way, I have, 3 slots left in this whatever program I'm doing, and lead them to that. I would save the really heavy sales stuff for when you're launching something specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I always like to say, like, the call to action, it doesn't even have to be business related. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll give you an example. So I think it was last summer. I was in the middle of all the COVID stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so in my newsletter, I have like a little personal note, and then my article, so I actually do kind of have a template. But I was trying to figure out where to go on vacation. Like, I wanted to go to a national park. So my call to action was hit reply and, let me know what your favorite national park was or is. Yeah. And I got so many responses, and it was really fun. And I got some great ideas to boot, right? So I guess the moral to the story is, it doesn't always have to be about what you do or growing your business, right? You're really just wanting to create that connection, that bond with your audience.